We're gonna come here because they want to play and they want to win.
Philly. I just
Like two chicken fillets, two fillets. Jay, two Chick-fil-A's.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
What's up, guys? We're back for another episode of the Big Cat Chat podcast. It's been a minute. Before we talk about anything, as you guys can see, Shawn is not here today. We have a guest today, Connor, down here at the bottom. He's on Jags Twitter. His @ will be in the description below. But he's the guest today. Shawn had a mission to do. I want to call it that because that's what he said it was, and it sounds pretty cool. So Shawn has a mission to complete today at work. So good luck to Shawn. Don't die on your mission. He said to make sure to let you guys know he's not dead. So
Jesus, it's a great way to start the podcast. Yeah, Shawn's not dead, guys.
But
Must be a pretty serious mission.
But yeah, before we get into anything, how you doing, Brian? How you doing, Connor? Brian, what's up?
Doing good. It's been it feels like it's been a while. Nice to have Connor here for the first time. I think we're considering doing guests in the future. This is kind of like right now it's a one-time thing, but we have discussed potentially having other people on the podcast.
Soon to
Connor
come.
Connor being the first honorary guest. So
It's been a long time coming.
yeah, people have been asking to be on it, so it's not the first time.
Well, it's the first time someone's been on, but not
Been on here, but it's not the first time anybody's asked.
Yep.
I'm honored to be the first one.
All right. Well, how you been? How you been?
I've been pretty good. It's just chilling here, trying to unpack. Got a box in the background, so just trying to
Get things
just
going.
chill. Yeah.
All right, guys. But first bit of business I want to talk about is the podcast revamp. If you guys haven't already been able to tell, there's a new podcast visual. Like, it's not just a black screen anymore. That's the first thing. But I'm going to go over everything that's included in this new podcast revamp. First, a new branding. We have a new logo. If you guys can see, it is under Brian next to Connor. That's our new logo. You can also see it on Twitter. You can see it on the channel itself. That's our new logo. I really like it. Brian, Shawn, and I, we put some money into it to get a better logo, better quality, and I think we all really like the logo. Looks much better than what we had before.
Yeah.
So that's the first new branding. We got a new channel art. We did not have any channel art for the longest time. Got some now. You guys can see that on the YouTube channel. We also have a new Twitter header. They are not the same thing. Channel art and Twitter header are two different things. New Twitter header. If you guys follow us on Twitter, make sure to follow us at the Big Cat Chat, link in the bio. New Twitter header. Got all kinds of new branding. I love it. I spent some time to get the stuff as good as I physically could. Quality. I made some. We paid for some. We wanted to get the best we physically could to look the best. Like I said, got the new Zoom visual around us. Hope you guys like that. We also have a new intro. So you guys already saw the intro, but that's our new intro. I spent some time making that, and I really like it. The Jaguars roar and everything. That was Brian's idea, actually, with the Jaguar roar. And then the highlights. I really like it. Give us how you guys feel about all this new stuff in the comments below. We got the new intro. We got the new podcast visual. I want to thank Andy from Dunn and Drew. Go watch their podcast. Follow them on Twitter. They actually made, or Andy specifically, made the podcast visual around us. And then we have a new schedule. You guys see this came out on Friday. Every single Friday should be a new podcast. Unless some circumstances come up that we can't, there should be a podcast episode every single Friday. And if somebody can't show up, like Shawn couldn't show up, we got a guest. If Brian can't show up, which he's shown up to every single one, we'll find somebody. If I can't show up, then I don't know.
Oh, God. We're in trouble.
Yeah, there should be a podcast every Friday, and every Monday there should be another football video. I make all those. Brian, Shawn, others might appear in those, but I make all those. Like this week, there was a tier list for receivers. Go watch that. There should be a video every Monday and Friday podcast. That's the new schedule. And then the final podcast revamp is, like Brian said, we will be having guests more often.
Just haven't figured out how often. We're kind of working on that right now.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out who to get on. If you guys have anybody you'd like to see on, comment them below.
Gordo.
Don't
Gordo on it. We're trying. Our next big
That's gonna be fun.
Our next big step is getting someone like higher up, like I don't know, a Jaguar player if that's possible, or just somebody
Possibly.
in the community. Maybe somebody in the
Cough,
community that's a
cough.
big Jag fan.
I'll give a number, 82. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. 82. Let's keep moving on. But yeah, Connor's the first guest. We're trying to get guests on more often. Got some high plans for some guests I want us to get on. We'll see if we can. But that's all the podcast revamp. Connor, you listen to the podcast. How do you feel about the
Yes.
revamp?
I mean, revamps are always pretty good to re-update your whole kind of identity. It can always be good to get a fresh start on things. So I think it'll be good for the podcast.
All right. I also got some new lighting. I don't look like trash anymore.
I'm still pale as usual, so I need to work on that. Both my tan and my
How
light.
are you that pale living in Florida?
Because I don't go out. I work inside all the time, and I don't really go outside enough to where I get tan, and I need to work on that. I probably need to go to the pool. Even just like a trip to the pool would probably get me some tan. But
I tan so easily. It's easy for me.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to tan, but anyways.
But yeah, that's the podcast revamp. We also have a new segment, the viewer question segment. We don't have any questions today, but if you guys want to ask us any questions to answer on the podcast, either comment them below or go on Twitter. I'm going to tweet every single week a tweet that if you comment a question on there, we will answer it on here. So ask us questions and we'll answer them every single week if you got any. We don't have any this week, so let's go ahead and get straight into the line of business. First thing, opt-outs in 2021. So Tom Pelissero, he tweeted about maybe a week ago now, almost a week ago.
Yep.
He tweeted last Friday that opt-outs have until this Friday when this podcast came out. If they want to opt out, they don't get any money for it. It's just you can opt out. It's just you're not going to get anything for it unless you have to, unless it's like medical risks. That's the only way you'll get money. You won't get money for just opting out. Nobody's opted out yet. I don't think anybody will. You guys think anybody will?
For our team?
I think in general, are we talking in general or the Jags?
NFL in general.
I think that there is a chance, especially with players that can't get the vaccine or don't want to get the vaccine, that, I think a lot of times it could be just pressure from other people on why they opt out. But I definitely don't think we'll see what happened last year, without a doubt. I mean, there really isn't a big risk this year. So I think this year it's mainly, if there is any, it's going to be people who can't get the vaccine.
That would make sense. Brian, you think anybody's going to opt out?
For the NFL, I think the guys that are at a risk, like health-wise, I remember, like, what was his name? He was signed in the 2020 offseason. It wasn't Al Woods. It was the other guy. Gunter, Rodney Gunter.
Yeah, Rodney Gunter.
Yeah, he was a guy that had to opt out because he had a heart problem.
No, he
I think
retired.
Oh, yeah, he retired.
Yeah, he
That's right.
retired.
He opted out and then
Al
retired.
Woods was the one who opted out.
Yeah, so
We had
somebody
the
like
entire D line pretty much opt out, didn't we?
Almost half of our free agents last year opted out.
yep,
Yeah.
Rashawn Gary was one of the opt outs.
No.
Guy from Florida, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he opted out.
The guy who
No.
came from the Niners. A bunch of random guys that
Yeah.
they might have made an impact, but a lot of them were older guys. I personally don't think anybody's going to opt out this year unless they have to, because if you look at how last season, all those guys who opted out, how many of them are on rosters right now?
How many?
Only
How
the one.
much?
Devontae
Devonta.
Hightower.
Yeah.
He's the only guy I can think of. Patrick Chung retired, so he's irrelevant.
Wait. Oh yeah, he did. I forgot.
But besides that, Devontae Hightower, he's the only good player. I mean, there were good players who opted out, yes, but none that were special. So everybody else, they got cut, and now they're not on rosters.
I think the biggest opt out last year was White, wasn't it, from the Bills?
Who?
Tre'Davious White.
Tre'Davious White played.
He did? I thought he
Yeah.
opted out.
No, he played. He almost
Who am I
opted
thinking?
out.
Oh, that's
he
why. He almost opted.
contemplated. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't.
Hight-
I don't
think
think
Hightower
anybody
is the
really-
biggest.
I don't think any
You can
big.
tell.
I don't think anybody's going to opt out this year besides any health problems. I think everyone understands that if they don't play just because they don't want to play, they're not getting any money. So I think that's a big incentive to play. And the risks are a lot lower. There's vaccines available. Even if they don't want to get it, I think they'll just either end up getting it or they'll just play the season without it. And I think everything will be pretty much normal. I don't really see many opt-outs happening. Haven't seen any news about it. So that says a lot.
I think if there is an opt-out, there could be a possibility a coach opts out. Like, and obviously not a head coach, but I could see it definitely, since the coaching rules are a lot more strict than the players when it comes to vaccines and COVID.
Yeah, you can't even be around players.
Yeah,
if you don't,
I think there is a chance that one or two coaches opt out.
The biggest thing is the players who opted out last year for health reasons, most of them got the vaccine, and the players who would opt out because they didn't get the vaccine were the players who played because they don't care. However you feel about it, they were just like, okay, I'm going to play anyways. So that's the players who
I die.
The players. Cole Beasley literally in quotes said that. That's not even like
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins said that. Yeah.
Kirk Cousins.
You got some major backlash for that one. But.
Kirk Cousins and Cole Beasley. Whether how you feel about it, I just think it's kind of funny. But let's go ahead and move on. Let's not get into that topic. Yeah, I don't think any opt-outs are going to happen. Maybe one guy, he'll probably end his – Jamie Newman ended his career by opting out of college football.
Oh, yeah.
He went undrafted, and then he got cut from Philadelphia. Yikes to him. But let's go ahead and move on. Rank the Jags positions from strongest to weakest. I'm going to give you all the positions that we're going to rank. We're going to rank receiver, running back, cornerback, defensive line, quarterback, linebacker, edge, which includes outside linebacker, edge rushers. This is not Madden. Edge, offensive line as a whole, safety, and tight end. What do you think is the best position on the Jaguars, Brian?
Honestly, I'm going to go running back.
That's what I was going to say.
We got James Robinson coming back, second year. He's playing. Apparently, he's looking even better than last year. He's got an actual offseason. You got Travis Etienne backing him up, or even then, like RB 1A, 1B. That's going to be a great thunder lightning kind of deal. You got a decent backup in Zigbo is probably going to be back, or maybe there's another guy I'm forgetting.
Carlos Hyde.
Carlos Hyde.
Carlos Hyde, yeah.
There's Ogunbowale as well.
He's going to be a great option to fall back on when Robinson needs him. It's basically a breather because they have a similar run style. But running back is by far the strongest. I mean, return, it's just too obvious. It's close with wide receiver, but like
I was gonna pick wide receiver personally because I'm not a stat guy. I used to be. You could look at the stats and say DJ Chark, he's not that good. But if you watch the film, DJ Chark was open all the time, especially deep. People say we need a deep threat. DJ Chark is a deep threat. You got DJ Chark. You got Laviska Shenault, who has been – we'll get into more of this, but his name's been called a lot during OTAs. He looks like he's going to be a star. You got Marvin Jones. For some reason, people forgot we signed Marvin Jones. He's
under the radar.
He's had 9 touchdowns the past 3 seasons, I believe. He almost had 1,000 yards last year.
One of the most underrated wide receivers, I would say, in the NFL right now.
Then you got Colin Johnson, who he showed flashes as a rookie. Then you got a bunch of other rookie guys. You got Philip Dorsett. But those top 4 receivers are really good. I think you got your top 3 receivers are what matters the most to me, and they're really strong. Running back is right there too. Like it's A and B for me. But I'm going to pick receiver. You guys are going to pick running back. So I guess I'm going to be the difference here. My number 2 is running back, and you guys, I would assume his number 2 is receiver. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and move on to the third strongest position. I'm going to go bold here, and I'm going to say cornerback. Call me crazy, but this is a question for another day, but I'm going to go ahead and say it now. I think CJ Henderson is the cornerback 1. I'm on that train. He's with pick 9th overall. He showed flashes. Watch him against Devontae Adams. Watch him against T.Y. Hilton. Watch him when he's healthy. If he can stay, this is if they can stay healthy, of course. Then you
also
got
have to take into consideration that rookie corners always struggle. Like,
yeah,
the one person that had the least amount of struggles was Ramsey, but because
Ramsey got toasted too.
Yeah, he even had moments of getting just torched, but that just happens as a rookie. I mean, even the generational talents are going to have some mistakes, and they're going to get torched.
JC
But-
Horn's going to get torched.
Yeah, he's going to have
Oh yeah,
moments.
Certain.
He's going to have his
Especially
moments
in the
against
AFC
Mike Evans.
West.
Surtain's lucky. Surtain's on a team that has like 5 starting worthy corners. So Surtain
Yeah.
might not even play a bunch, but JC is going to get toasted. Even Cameron Dantzler, who people say was the best rookie cornerback, he was awful the first half of the season. He
Yep.
picked it up in the second half. Some guys learn faster than others. Second year, CJ Henderson should be good. Watch Jalen Rant. I'm not saying he's the same as Jalen Ramsey. Coverage-wise, he has the same talent. I don't care what you say. His issue is tackling, which
Can be fixed.
he tackled Derrick Henry. I'm just saying. He tackled Derrick Henry.
I think it's a mental thing more than one. I think it's just him
Yeah.
trying to overcome the fact that he's got to tackle. But the
He
fact
didn't
that he's
really
got
want
elite,
to.
yeah, the fact that he's got elite coverage skills overweighs the ability to tackle. If you can't, if you can tackle but you can't cover, then you might as well just be a lineman or something, because But if you can cover really well, but you're tackling subpar to average, I'm fine with that, because that means if you're shutting guys down, but you're, I don't know, miss a tackle and the guy gets 10 yards, I'll take that over getting torched for a 50-yard bomb.
Exactly. Then you signed Shaquille Griffin, who I think is a CB2. Some people think he's CB1. That's an argument for another day.
Yep.
Then you got Shaquille Griffin, who he's proven himself to be a good corner. And then you do have a rookie cornerback starting, who I will acknowledge. Tyson Campbell will get toasted this year, and he's like the weaker side of the cornerback room. He's going to be starting in nickel, though, which I think benefits him because he's not playing these outside receivers that are going to absolutely toast JC Horn and other guys. So he's playing against receivers that should be easier in reference to cover. So he should be able to do better than he might if he was outside. Then you got another starting worthy corner in Sidney Jones. Sidney Jones was a stud at times last year. He's your CB4. Then you got Trey Herndon at CB5. You got depth in that room. So
I think Herndon can have a bounce back season. He wasn't as good as he was last year.
he was better in the nickel. He sucks.
He was better in
outside.
nickel, but overall, I would say he was better the year that Ramsey got traded.
Mhm.
But I think that he can get back to that, and I think he can build off of that. And I do think he's kind of a dark horse for this team at corner that people are kind of counting out, that I think can definitely prove that he's productive at cornerback.
For sure. But yeah, I really like the depth in our cornerback room. I think we got some good guys starting. If Tyson Campbell can learn quickly with his athleticism that he has, that's a good room, if they stay healthy, obviously. But Josiah Scott also got traded. I'm so glad that dude is gone. I don't care if he shares my name. But Brian, what's your third strongest position for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Oh, man. Yeah, I was thinking between O-line and cornerback. I'm going to probably have to go cornerback because of the fact that how many people we retained and the upgrades we made with Shaquille Griffin and Henderson coming back year 2. It's barely over the O-line. But I think the fact that we got Tyson Campbell as a nickel, we have a secured nickel. I don't think he just plays nickel. I think he plays mostly nickel, but I do believe that he will get reps outside because I think he could be our future outside cornerback once Shaquille's gone in, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he is maybe he's the nickel for the future.
I mean, that's what Urban said when we drafted him. He said he's going to play the nickel, but
if he's the nickel for good, then great. We got Shaquille for 3-4 great years, maybe 5. I don't know how long he's going to play well for, but if he's the confirmed nickel for good, then that's perfect because whenever Shaquille's done, we can get a CB2 in 3-4 whatever years. And then we've got Herndon, like you said. We've got who was the new guy we got in the trade?
It's an undrafted free agent last year.
Yeah.
I doubt he makes a roster, but
he might make the roster. He might not. But the fact that we've got just Trey Herndon and
you got 5 good corners.
Sidney Jones, that's a really deep cornerback room.
I like having Sidney Jones at CB4 a lot because
He can come out and play.
CJ Henderson might get hurt this year. You got Sidney Jones to go right in his role.
And you put him in you can put it CB2 and then you can put Griffin at CB1. You're
exactly.
fine.
And then you got Trey Herndon. If you need to move Tyson around, you got Trey Herndon to play nickel. You got a lot you can do with that cornerback room. You got a lot of young guys. You got a lot of young guys too.
they have a lot of different opportunities to do a lot of looks at their cornerbacks, maybe run 4 guys out there or something. I think you're going to see a lot of that more than just –
a lot of DBs.
You're going to see a lot of DBs out there. You're going to see Henderson. You're going to see Shaquille. You're going to see Sidney Jones and Trey Herndon all on the field at times at the same time, depending on the packages. But I think that they're going to use those guys more often than people expect them to, and I really can't wait for that.
All right, Connor, you don't really need to analyze it, but which position's your third best?
I was going to go with cornerback, but I think I'm going to have to go with linebacker.
Linebacker, that's an interesting one.
Okay.
You have Miles Jack, who has shown that he is one of the best linebackers in the game right now.
He's better than
year.
Darius Leonard, folks.
He is better than Darius Leonard.
Come on.
And you also have, across from him, you have my mind's blanking right now. But Joe Schobert. When you have those two at linebacker, I think they showed last year that they're, they fit amazingly into this team. They work well together, and just the chemistry that those two have, I think really those two outshine the cornerback room. And I don't know who's the third linebacker that we'll have starting this year with them.
It's a toss-up.
Leon Jacobs is one of them. In 4-3, it's probably going to be like Jacobs or.
It depends on what the coach is like. I think after those two, it could just be a toss-up. I'm going to be honest.
Or they could move.
Who's the guy we signed from the Chiefs? They've talked about him a lot.
Wilson.
Damian Wilson. They've said his name a lot.
Wilson. Yeah.
In interviews. So
I think when you have those three, I think it's definitely close between cornerback, but I think just because of Miles Jack and Joe Schobert's dominance, that I think linebacker edges out by just a little bit.
Schobert gets way too much hate. I don't know why people constantly hate on him. He was he was solid. He wasn't.
People hate him because apparently he can't tackle, and I'm like,
everybody was terrible on the team last year.
He has one of the highest. He was top 5 in tackles in the league.
Yeah, it's not like he's a bad player. It's just
it's ridiculous.
The scheme provided by Todd Wash was horrible. Everybody was affected by it. The defense.
Todd Wash, man.
I mean, the guy is good. Now that he's in a defense in a 3-4 and 4-3, I think, and he can play both. I think he's going to do just fine and knows his role. Lets Miles Jack roam free. You got Chase on, and you got Allen on the outside. That's a great 4 guys right there on behind the 3. I can't wait to see what they run in the 3-4 with the 3 linemen. I can't wait to see who the starters are, because it's going to be a constant rotation. So.
Yeah, that runs me perfectly into my 4th. I'm going to go defensive line. This excludes edge. This is the defensive line, and call me bold, but we signed a lot of guys. This is going to be run like Baltimore runs their line. They are going to be rotated. It's good. There's Devon Hamilton, Malcolm Brown, RRH. Who else? Doug Costin. You got all these guys. You got who's the guy that Gordo hates?
Jihad Ward.
I think Jihad Ward might be an edge, but regardless, you signed a ton of guys. You got a ton of guys that are going to be big guys that are going to fill that hole. You got a ton of depth there. It's going to be a great rotation. I think that room's pretty good. Sure, people say you need that one dominant defensive tackle on your team. That's not how this team works. It's going to be a massive rotation. If you can get a bunch of guys who are just good players, that's better than having one really good player who's not going to play as much in this scheme. All right. We'll let Connor say his 4th best position here first.
I'm going with cornerback. Obviously, you guys pretty much explained it already. It's a deep room with a lot of talent, and you really can't beat it.
All right, Brian. You already said yours is offensive line. So you're going to give us
offensive
why?
Line is the next. I'm doing offensive line over the defensive line because we're bringing back all 5 guys. I think the offensive line got more hate than it should have because of the fact that Minshew and the quarterbacks were just terrible. Minshew, because he scrambled way too much, and it caused sacks.
Glennon was a statue.
Glennon just stood there and let himself get hit. And granted, Robinson and Taylor were considered 2 of the worst tackles in the league. However, they can build upon that. And we know Taylor has a lot better potential. We know that Cam Robinson had an off year, and it doesn't help that they were constantly dealing with rotating quarterbacks. I feel like with a consistent quarterback play, 1 quarterback in the backfield, I feel like that they're going to do better. And they brought back Warhop, so that's going to help a lot because he's one of the best offensive line coaches in the league.
You better not forget to say someone's name.
Brandon Linder?
Wrong.
Oh God.
It's runner
No.
big. What are you talking about? Runner big, bro.
I know he's gonna say.
Oh, God.
Runner big.
Oh, Walker Little. Yeah, Walker Little. Jeez, it took me a second. Walker Little, God, I'm going to be honest. That was a big addition to the offseason. At first, I was like, who is this guy? And then I saw the tape. I was like,
Call it coach talk, but Warhop said, who's been coaching since the 90s, NFL coaching since the 90s, said Little is the best tackle he's ever seen, most prepared as a rookie.
and considering he didn't play at all in 2020 because
2
of
years.
basically 2 years of not playing, because the first 19 he had a injury. 2020 he just didn't play because they had half the season was canceled because of COVID, and then they started, but he opted out because there was no point. So he prepared for the draft, worked on his craft, his technique, his
He can play
ability at
every
other
position on
positions.
the line.
Now he can play every position on the line. I don't know if he can play center, but he can play left tackle, left guard, right tackle, right guard. So that is a huge positional need that we filled, while also getting a best available player. Like, he was considered a first-round talent, and we got him in the second round at 45. And I can't tell you how big of a steal that is. And
Until we see him play.
yeah, as long as he plays up to his abilities, training camp's going to be an interesting. We'll get
I'm
to
pumped.
that.
I'm
Yeah,
going, by
training
the way.
camp is going to be very fun to watch because there's a lot of things we're going to be looking at during training camp. Battles, one particular person we'll get to as well. Just anything else that we can think of. It's going to be good. It's going to be one of the better training camps in the last several years.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think Walker Little is going to replace either Cam Robinson or Jawan Taylor at some point in the year. I predict Cam Robinson because I think Jawan Taylor is going to be better this year, but we'll see. Let's go ahead and move on to our fifth position. For me, I'm going to give linebacker. This is where I place linebacker as the fifth strongest position. We do have a really good, arguably one of the best linebackers in the league, better than Darius Leonard, Miles Jack. He's the main guy in the room. Then you got Joe Schobert, Joe Schobert should be better given a better scheme, because a lot of the issues were sometimes he got beat in coverage badly times, but that was just because he was in a bad scheme. And he does need to work on physically tackling better, like he misses some tackles, but he's still really good. I think he's more underrated than some people want to say. But then after that, it's kind of a toss-up in the room. Those two guys keep the room good, but after that, I think it's kind of a toss-up. I think Damian Wilson's probably going to make the roster now because I've heard him being talked about a lot. Apparently, he's been really good during OTAs. We'll see. But this is where I'm going to place linebacker, placing them at number 5. Brian, who's your fifth?
So went wide receiver. I did already divided wide receiver, running back, cornerback, O-line. So right here is where I'm going to go defensive line.
All right.
Because I can't keep them out of the top 5 because they revamped the whole defensive line. Does this include Allen and Chase on or no?
No, they're edges.
Okay. So yeah, they're at number 5 because we revamped it. We got a bunch of new names. We got quite a few names added to the line. We have a really good rotation now. Like, we had 0 rotation in 2020. It was bad. We had guys coming off the streets. I saw
Guys were
Jersey.
hurt.
Huh?
Guys were hurt too.
Yeah, opt-outs, people hurt. It was just bad. So I'm excited to see how well this D-line does. I think we had like 20 sacks last year, maybe not even.
It was bad.
I think it was 18, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm off. Is it 18?
18.
18 sacks. Fully expect that to double this year. I don't care what anyone says. The 18 is not a lot. That's barely 1 sack a game. So
And there's 17 games.
And there's 17 games, so I fully expect double sacks, maybe even 40, because this D-line is revamped. It's going to take some time for the defense to mesh because defenses take a little longer than offense, especially because it's a new scheme.
Communication as well.
Communication is more, yep. So fully expect this team to take some time to mesh on the defense, but I fully expect a lot of quarterback hits and sacks as the year goes on.
All right, Connor, who's your fifth team? And after we finish our fifth team, we're just going to run through maybe a little bit of analysis, but the top 5 positions we give our analysis, and then we're just going to give the rest of the positions in order. But what's your fifth team? Or fifth?
I'm going to have to agree with defensive line. I mean, we had a lot of great pickups this offseason. I can't remember his name, the guy from the Saints that we traded
Malcolm
for.
Brown.
Malcolm Brown. I mean, he's heavily underrated. If we got Alu signed, I think this
I'm
should definitely
salty.
be third. I am too, especially since how much he's grown since he was in Jacksonville as a player. He's extremely talented. I mean, I think this defensive is definitely one of the most underrated in the league right now. And I mean, you guys have seen the press conference of all of them together. Just the amount of chemistry that they already have.
Jihad Ward hit him up.
You haven't seen that kind of stuff since 2017. So I'm just really hoping that they show out, and I think that they're definitely going to turn some heads this year.
All right. So now for the rest of the positions, I'm going to rank it quarterback, edge, offensive line, safety, and tight end. Safeties, I'd like the safety group, but they just end up at the end of the stick. And tight end is obviously the worst. I think tight end is the worst for all of us. Edge, I like the edge. I like edges. I like the edge, Josh Allen and Caleb Chason. But after that, you got a rookie in Jordan Smith. But who else? You don't really have much depth there. Then you do have the Smoot. So Smoot's good too. But you don't really have.
Smoot was a defensive tackle.
He can play that. He might actually play a little bit of that.
Depends on if he bulks up.
Yeah, I think it depends on really the play.
Yeah, depends on what they want him to do. But
Right.
edge, it's really you got the top two guys, and then after that, it kind of falls off. I'm not as high on the offensive line. I think the other positions are better, but I do think the offensive line is underrated. People act like the offensive line is trash, but
He was literally ranked average in the league.
exactly. The issue is the tackles, and I think Walker Little is going to replace Cam Robinson, and Jawan Taylor is going to if Jawan can take a step forward, the offensive line is going to be solid. The interior is already solid in pass pro, at least. So I like it. I like the safety group. It's just they're not as good as everybody else. And quarterback, we have a rookie quarterback, and that's about all I can say for that. But it's Trevor Lawrence, so that's why it's kind of high. Brian, what are your run through your the rest of yours?
So I'm gonna go safety because we revamped that quite a bit. Like we pretty much did a complete makeover for that. So safety, quarterback, linebacker, tight end. I think that's everything, right?
Yeah.
Or
Did you say edge?
Oh no, I didn't say edge. So safety, edge. I think I did say safety, edge, linebacker. Or I'm sorry, safety. No, actually no, linebacker, safety, edge, tight end. Sorry.
You left quarterback off this time.
Jesus. All right. So safety, quarterback, or safety, linebacker, quarterback, edge, tight end. The reason I say edge is at the bottom because one, Chason, we don't know how he's going to be this year. We hope and expect him to be very good. Josh Allen's coming off a rough year, so I can't put them too high. However, they could be pretty high if they do really well.
They have a lot of potential.
Yes, they have a lot of potential, especially Chason. I think the success of that defense is really going to be on Chason more than anybody because he's just – I forgot where the article was, but somebody wrote a piece about how Chason's success could severely alter how the defense does because the guy's got potential.
Yeah.
Safety, we revamped everything. We got 2 new safeties. Well, we don't know who the second safety is.
We signed 3, or we signed 2 and drafted 1.
We got Jenkins and then
Ford.
Jenkins, Cisco,
and Isaiah Ford is probably going to be a special teamer if he makes the roster.
Rudy Ford.
Yeah.
He might make the team.
Did I say Isaiah Ford?
Isaiah Ford, yeah.
It's Rudy.
He's probably going to make the roster.
Isn't Isaiah Ford like a linebacker somewhere?
I think so.
But and then
tight end is tight end.
Tight end is just a mess. Tim Tebow, guys. Tight end 1. You'll hear. You'll see. Don't worry.
All right,
MVP.
Connor, what do you run through yours?
So I know this isn't listed, but I want to start off with special teams.
Okay.
It's
special teams.
O-line, QB, edge, safety, tight end. And the reason I say special teams first is not only do we have Josh Lambo, one of the best kickers in the league. We also have the best. We also have one of the best punters in the league who just signed a new contract. I mean, you've got a great kicker punter duo.
Signed a bunch of new gunners.
We all know how Urban takes special teams extremely seriously. We have amazing special teams players like gunners that I think definitely, since how much we're focusing on special teams with already having a lot of talent, in the special teams area, I think that, you just can't leave it off.
And Jamal Agnew.
And Jamal Agnew is a returner. So
I like it. But yeah, guys, those are our position rankings for the Jaguars. Where do you guys disagree? Do you think we're dumb? Whatever you want to say, comment it below. But we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll get back for the rest of the podcast. See you guys in a bit. We're back, guys. So you guys just saw our positional rankings and all that. But let's go ahead and move on to the next big question: who to pay attention to and what to look for during training camp. All of us are going to give one player that we think you should keep your eyes on for when training camp comes around. Somebody that you should keep your eyes on. I'm going to go ahead and start so nobody else can say it. Timothy Tebow.
I wasn't going to say him.
I know who Brian's going to say, but and Brian, I wanted to say who's Brian's going to say, but I wanted to say Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow. The reason I say you got to keep your eyes on him is because, one, the tight end position is very just dull right now. I'm also cheating my own question. Watch Chris Manhertz too for the same reason. But the tight end room is empty right now. Somebody needs to solidify themselves as the tight end one in the room. And Timmy, this is where he's going to be able to show if he's an actual tight end or if he's not making the roster. Because during OTAs, he caught every ball. I've heard from some reporters who were there. They said his route running needs work. And that makes sense. But I want to see what he is like with pads on. When there's going to be hitting, how is he going to react to that? Is he going to fall off? Because tons of guys, as soon as you throw pads on, they disappear. Is Timmy going to fall off? Is he going to show up? Is he going to be the tight end? Is he going to make the roster? That's why you got to watch Timmy. Brian, who's your player to watch?
You think you know who it is, and it's not. It's not Laviska because it's Colin Johnson. Colin Johnson. And I'll tell you why. Everybody knows Laviska's probably going to do well in training camp. Everyone's expecting it. It's just too good. There's no way he's not going to be good unless he's barring a just absolute breakdown. Colin Johnson, wide receiver 4. I'll tell you why. He showed flashes last year. He showed pretty good speed too. I mean, geez, it was against the Packers. He had the Browns. Was it the Browns?
Browns was that deep touchdown.
Yeah. He showed really good speed, and he has better hands than people give him credit for. I think he had some catching issues in college, but I think that's a guy to watch out for in training camp and seeing if he can even possibly move up to wide receiver 3.
Red zone threats.
Exactly. See how well he does in the red zone in practice and training camp. Just see how he does in general. See him develop, because I feel like he could be a legitimate wide receiver 3 when Marvin Jones is gone. I think this is the year for him to really take off and show his potential to be on the field more often than not just for the red zone. He's the tallest wide receiver in the league. I mean, if he takes advantage of his abilities and his height and his really good speed for his height, he could be a legitimate wide receiver 3. He could be the guy that gets you 20 chunk yards, 30 yards, maybe even a 50-yarder, because he's pretty solid for his speed. If people are covering Shark and Laviska, who's going to be that number 3 to step up? Will it be Marvin Jones? Will it be Colin Johnson? It could be Colin Johnson. I really think that he's going to surprise some people. I really hope he does, and that's my guy. All
right, Connor, who is your player to watch?
If I had gone first, I would have said Tim Tebow, obviously, but you could say Taven to see if he gets cut or not, or see. But I think my choice is going to be Walker Little. I mean, he's shown you, like you said, he was been said to be the most NFL ready offensive lineman in the draft. I think that if he can prove that that rust, he doesn't have any of that rust from not playing for 2 years, I think he could potentially start week 1.
I agree. Cam Robinson on watch. Yeah. Cam Robinson better turn his jersey around.
I do definitely think that there's going to be a camp battle for left tackle. I think he could still push Taylor.
Tackle in general.
I think there's going to be a training camp battle for just either of the tackle positions, and that's going to be obviously Walker Little. And I feel like if he outperforms even both of them, I think he replaces whoever struggles the most. And if Cam Robinson struggles, you really got to consider him starting week 1. I mean, obviously it's a risk because he's a rookie, but if he's playing well and he does well in preseason too,
best player up,
best player available, you got to take the chance. I mean, it's going to be fun.
I also want to say this. I also want to say this. Cam Robinson getting the franchise tag does not mean he's a guaranteed starter.
It's a one-year rental.
I've said this since
That's
the
what it is.
beginning. Tagging him was a backup plan at worst because, one, if you wanted to get a free agent tackle, the only free agent tackle better than Cam Robinson was Trent Williams. And if you wanted to put all that money in and risk not getting him, also having to spend that much money, and you end up failing, then you're left with somebody worse than Cam Robinson. So they tagged him for that. And then also, you don't want to have to rely on a rookie tackle. If a rookie tackle comes in and plays better, then yes. But you don't want to have to rely on somebody being good as a rookie. That's the big thing. Plus, we have so much money. We still have like $40 million left.
Oh yeah, we could sign a max contract if we wanted to.
Chark is on. Could be Chark if he plays well.
I think it really boils down to how little does in training camp
Exactly.
on who's going to start. My prediction is I think it's going to be Little, and I think it's going to be – his name is blanking right now, but he went to Florida. You guys know who he is. Taylor. I mean, he played great his rookie year. He took a step back.
He's shown flashes.
He took a step back last year, but I think, a lot of players just have sophomore slumps. And I think that if those two really can show out, we can actually have a pretty good offensive line going forward. And I think that it really just boils down to how they do in training camp.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, let's go ahead and move on. But before we do, I want to quickly say also watch Josh Imatorbebe, just because I said this when he said Colin Johnson, but that vertical is a good red zone threat. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. But this is a question. I was just chilling and I was like, wait a second. This interests me. Former Jaguar Dede Westbrook. He's not signed anywhere right now. Do you think he's going to get signed? Do you think he's going to play week one? The question is, will Dede Westbrook play week one? If yes, where? Brian, go.
I don't think he plays. I just don't see him playing. He came off a really bad injury for starters.
Do you think he gets signed and doesn't play? Or do you just think he doesn't get signed?
I think he doesn't get signed until middle of the year when injuries start to occur and they get him as like an emergency situation. He ends up just sitting. Just he's inactive, or maybe he does play. I don't know what team would want him, but he's just not. His chances are pretty much gone unless somebody gets hurt and too many people get hurt. I think he doesn't end up being signed at all. But of course, injuries may happen. So if they do, I think he ends up getting signed. Emergency situation. But I hate it. Sucks, but that injury kind of ruined his career.
He also wasn't that good.
He just wasn't that great. I mean, he was an electric college player. He was great in college.
Almost won a Heisman.
Almost won a Heisman winner. I mean, best wide receiver in college football.
Yeah, they just didn't know how to use him right. What else is new? Doug Marone's staff didn't know how to use anybody right.
Oh, speaking of that, Jimmy Smith actually came out and said that this coaching staff would not let Keenan McCardell coach the receivers like he wanted to, and that held back DJ Chark, which also inherently meant it held back Dede Westbrook.
That is ridiculous.
It made him regress. I mean, it's not like he can't recover. He put on, as Urban said, he put on weight, he put on muscle, he put on a bigger frame. And
we're talking about DJ Chark now. I thought you were talking about Dede Westbrook.
Oh, no, I'm talking about, well, you mentioned Chark, but Chark put on weight, put on muscle. He's kept his speed. He's gotten faster. He's gotten faster. That's how you maintain a healthy body during the season, is by having that extra weight to take. Yeah,
Urban loves his strength and conditioning, but
yeah.
All right, Connor, do you think Dede Westbrook will play week one? If so, for who? If not, will he get signed and just not play, or will he be a free agent still?
I think he will be signed, but I think he will be on a practice squad. Who? I think that there are some teams that don't have a lot of depth in wide receiver. Do I think he'll get much playing time? Probably not, but I could see him signed somewhere like with the Denver Broncos or with the Baltimore Ravens as a practice squad.
All right, so now for my answer. I've been thinking about this for a minute. I'm going to say no to week one, but I think he's going to get signed in the middle of the year to the Minnesota Vikings, where Keenan McCardell currently coaches as the receiver coach, And there'd been a ton of rumors that they have been looking at Dede Westbrook. They have not signed him yet, but I've seen a ton of rumors that the Vikings, because of Keenan McCardell, were looking at Dede Westbrook. And I don't think they're going to sign him before week 1 unless an injury happens. But I think during the year, an injury will happen and they'll sign him. That's my prediction. But yeah, Dede Westbrook, he's a fun guy. He was electric in college, a Heisman runner-up. Wish him the best. I don't think he's that good of a player, but again, I wish him the best. He's a cool guy. He has his own ranch in Texas, I think. But yeah, he's a fun guy. That was
back
just
to that whole issue with Doug Marrone. You guys know that I kind of have a little inside source on a certain wide receiver. I won't say the names, but I was told that in that whole area, there were players that they signed that were expecting to start that they basically said, we're not going to play you. We're just going to use you as some sort of like gadget. And the same thing happened with the player that you guys know that I know, that basically they kind of, threw out the whole role system last year, and that especially in the wide receiver room, just was a completely mess. It was players that were told that they were going to start, just all of a sudden were said, hey, we're just not going to use you. And, that happens, but not in that way, just not with that kind of dysfunctionality.
yeah. All right, so that was a fun little question. And now here's another question. The Steelers released guard David DeCastro. Should the Jaguars sign him? I'm going to go ahead and give my 2 cents. No. Brian.
No, he's beyond his prime. He's already contemplating a retirement. We've got good guards, especially he's not replacing Norwell. Cam was apparently better than him. I'd rather stick with Can, who's healthy and played all 16
younger
games.
too.
Yeah, Can. Yeah, it's just a no. He's already contemplating retiring. I think it's just best for him to retire. Had a great career, but no, thank you.
I'm going to be honest, though. I did at first want to sign him, and then I thought about it, and I did some research, and I was like, he wasn't actually that good last year.
Right.
All right, Connor, should we sign David DeCastro?
I think that if you can get him at the right price, yes. If it's for something like a veteran minimum, because you also have Schwartz, who's still a free agent, but he's also hurt. I think that if you could get either of those guys for a small contract, obviously nothing that they've been paid for in the past, I think that, the risks that you would be taking with that little amount could pay off. So if we're going to talk about full price, absolutely not. But for a small contract, maybe a veteran minimum, I say just take the chance. Worst thing happens, you release him halfway through the year.
All right. Follow-up question. Should the Jags sign anybody else that's available? I'm going to say I don't think they will. I think Urban's fine with the team where they are. But if they are going to sign anybody, Melvin Ingram, former Charger.
Yeah.
He's an edge. I already said this about the edge position earlier. You got the two guys, Kayvon Chason, Josh Allen, and you do have Jordan Smith, but he's a rookie. You got those guys, and then you have nobody else. So you do need to add somebody to the room. I wanted us to draft somebody, which we did in the 5th round, Jordan Smith. Not where I wanted, but you get the point. Melvin Ingram would be my guy, but I don't think we're going to sign anybody. Also, I'm going to say credit to Shawn for that. He's not here because I know he would have said him, and I know he'd been on the Ingram train for a while. So Shawn had the idea first. Connor, who do you think the Jags should sign, if anybody?
I think it also boils down to how much, but Melvin Ingram is definitely a huge name that they should look at. He fits a role that the Jags need. And, if you can get him at the right price, definitely go for him. But also, I know this isn't a popular opinion, but Malik Hooker, if you can get him for a small amount, he could be as a backup or a starter. I think it is, it all boils down to how much you're willing to pay them and how much you're willing to sign for. I think that, Ingram and Hooker both could be good pickups, or even somebody like, in defensive tackles with, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but, there are some solid players that are still left. I think that definitely
Geno Atkins
is a veteran presence. You can definitely pick up some good guys, but I think as, a big name, there really isn't that much available. You could also go with, like I mentioned, Schwartz, but he is hurt. You don't have to remember that. But I think the biggest one is definitely Melvin Ingram that I would sign if I were Meyer.
All right, Brian, who should the Jags sign?
I don't think they sign anybody, but if I had to pick somebody, I would definitely say Melvin Ingram simply because of the fact that we are lacking depth at the edge position. I do believe Leon Jacobs is actually going to play some edge, though. I think he's going to do linebacker edge, which is interesting because he's fast. So if he can put together some pass rushing moves, that'd be pretty cool. I know that Jordan Smith can play linebacker as well. He's actually better standing up than he is on the ground. So that's an interesting thing to take note of. But they're trying to get him to improve at edge because they want him more on a 4-3 than a 3-4 because he got
Leon Jacobs ran a 4.48. So
fast.
he is fast, confirmed.
Yeah.
I did just remember Richard Sherman as a free agent. I know we don't really need a cornerback, but just to mentor somebody like CJ Henderson, that might be worth it.
I don't think he wants to come here, though. The Jets should sign Sherman, but that's not for our podcast.
But
I'd also like Geno Atkins now that you brought him up.
Yeah.
Geno Atkins would be good. Defensive.
I would say those two because it would be a good veteran presence on the D line. And that's honestly a position that we could continue to improve on if we needed to. But I think where we're at now is perfect. We got a lot of great depth. Who knows what's going to happen to Taven Bryan because we've got so many guys. Shawn thinks he might make it. I think Shawn secretly likes him, even though he says he's joking about it. I think he wants to see him. I want to see him succeed, but I don't know.
He's a Gator, and I want him cut. That says a lot.
It does.
I'm kind of mutual with Josiah on that one. So
You got two Gator fans wanting a Gator player
two
cut,
big ones.
then you done messed up. But let's go ahead and move on to the last question of the podcast. I'm going to go ahead and credit John Shipley on Twitter for this one. He made an article about it, and it gave me the thought to talk about it here. I didn't read the article. I mean, I glanced at it. No offense. You guys should. You guys should.
I didn't read your article, but
I didn't read the article, but I saw it.
John's gonna read this. John's gonna hear this and be like, "Wow."
I know John's brother. Okay, I know John's brother. They're cool.
John writes some good articles.
Yeah, you guys
should be reading them.
You should read his articles. I didn't have time to, but he did give me the idea. Go read his article for some 2 cents. But
Cassidy, she just wrote some that one player from the 2000s.
RJ Soward.
RJ Soward. That was an amazing read. If you guys haven't read that.
Cassidy Hill. Go follow her too. But yeah, they got some good articles. But yeah, John Shipley wrote an article on this, and it gave me an idea. Go read his article. Unlike me,
you need to go read it now.
Yes, I'll read it after this. Okay.
All right.
But should the Jags be in on Xavien Howard? Xavien Howard, if you guys didn't know, is holding out right now because he wants a new contract after 2 years of his deal. 2 years ago, I believe it's either 1 or 2 years.
It was 1.
1 year ago, he signed a 5-year contract. He was paid the highest corner in the game at that point, and now he's like the 4th or 5th highest paid. And he wants to be repaid. He wants a new contract so he can be paid higher than Jalen Ramsey. He wants to be the highest paid corner in the game yet again. For me, no. I do not want to spend that much money on somebody who's going to want a new contract every year because somebody else got paid more. What's the point of signing a long-term contract if you just want to be the highest paid every time? If you want to do that, sign a 1 or 2 year deal every single time. And sure, then you can be the most paid. He's an elite corner, and it would be great. It would help the defense for sure.
Yep.
But I like our cornerback room. They're young. They're developing. There's not really a need to send capital away and money away to get somebody like that into the room. There's just not really a good valid reason for what it would cost. But Connor, sorry to jump you, Brian, but
that's right.
We'll let Connor speak first.
Absolutely not. We should stay far away from it because, we've already dealt with culture issues, especially at the cornerback position. We don't need that in the locker room right now, especially somebody who, is already being paid a lot that just sees one cornerback paid and automatically wants a new contract just 1 year into it, especially since that we're also going to have to give up probably a good amount of players to get him from the Dolphins. So I just don't see it being worth it for us, especially just from a money standpoint, from a capital standpoint, and just from a culture and locker room standpoint. We just don't really need that right now, especially at such a deep position that we have like cornerback. I think it's just best for us to stay completely out of it.
All right, Brian, let's give your 2 cents.
On paper, being on the team,
He would make the team better.
he would make the team better for sure. However,
gonna deny
the
that.
value it would require to get him on the team and the amount you'd have to pay him, who has not even played, you basically have to trade for him and then pay him even though
every
he hasn't
year.
played it. Every year, basically, because even though he hasn't played a snap for us, so you're basically banking on that. It's just not worth it. It's too much capital given up. You're paying a guy too much money for never seeing him play a snap for your team.
He also
And-
needs to prove, because he had one really, really good year, led the league in interceptions. He was
Yep.
he's in my opinion a top 3 or 4 corner in the league. That's
Right.
my opinion. But you got to do that for another year before you just get signed to Jalen Ramsey money again. You
Yep.
got a big contract, play through your big contract, and if you're still really good,
You
then
get
get
another
a new one.
I
But
mean,
the fact that he's demanding money again after 1 year on his 5-year contract, that just screams selfishness. And Urban does not want a selfish player on the team. He wants guys that are selfless and don't put themselves before others. And that's the last thing we need in that locker room. Like Connor said, it's going to ruin the culture. It'll ruin the locker room. Guys are going to start getting divided. People are going to start getting affected by it. It's just going to cause a dumpster fire. And it's not worth it. I don't think, and if anything, if somebody trades for him, they're going to want at least a first round pick. At least. And Ramsey got 2. So imagine him. He could
and we
even
still
go
lost
for
that
serious.
trade. We got 2, and we still lost that trade.
Because we lost it because of the fact that our picks haven't been good yet. I mean, Jason's still to be determined.
And so is
ETN to be
ETN to be determined.
Right.
Who was our
But-
4th round pick? Who we used the 4th on? I don't know.
I think
Tufele.
that was Tufele, yeah.
Yeah.
Tufele.
Oh, wait, no, I think the 4th was last
Chick-fil-A.
year. Was that the?
I thought it was this year.
No,
It was.
I thought Josiah Scott was the.
He was
4th.
one of them. And then the other one was
Didn't we get a second as well?
Let me look it up. Jalen Ramsey trade. Sorry, guys.
Here's a summary from Black and Teal.
A 2021 4th round pick. So we either got, because we had like 3 4th rounders this year. So it was either Jay Tufele or you guys get the gist. But yeah, Xavien Howard is a no from us. Should be a no from you. I think John also said no. Like I said,
Especially when you look at it like the team he was on before the Dolphins, the Cowboys. I mean, he played great. And
no, that was Byron Jones.
Byron Jones, excuse me. Who was he on before the Dolphins?
No, Cowboys was Byron Jones.
Oh, that's
Byron Jones.
Did Xavien Howard get drafted by the Dolphins?
He did, but I thought there was a situation where when he was getting his contract, I thought there was a situation when he was drafted. Wasn't there?
He was drafted he's 27. He was drafted by the Dolphins in the 2nd round. So he's been a Dolphin his entire career.
Yeah, but wasn't there something like when he was signing his contract that he wanted more and he was kind of holding out on that too? Or am I just remembering it wrong?
I think you're remembering something.
I think I'm just mixing up Byron Jones probably.
Probably. But yeah, guys, Xavien Howard's a no. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment. There should be a new podcast every single Friday. New videos every Monday. Shawn should be back next week. Hope you guys enjoyed though, and see you guys next time. Peace.